Here we are. What's up, everybody? This is Practical AI, episode 8. We've got a great show on tap for you today. I'm going to kick it over to Olga. She's going to tell you what it's all about.
Hey guys. All right. Well, as always, we scan through all the news, all the trends, all the practical applications of Practical AI all week long, countless and countless of newsletters and shows and ideas. And we bring you the best of the best, especially with the filter of what's actually practical. What can you use today and actually have a useful implementation of that? So as I say, the worst case scenario, you'll be the most interesting person at dinner after listening to it today. The best case scenario, you'll build something amazing with AI. So today's topic is we are basically talking about what smart AI builders are doing differently now. And what we're doing is, I think today is probably our most practical episode out of everything we've done so far. So, but I guess we'll be judging at the end. So on that note, let's, do you have anything else to add before I jump in?
I just want to say that we're going to focus today on specific pieces of workflows. Like, so there's a lot of hype, like, oh, this person's using AI agents to build a multi-million-dollar business. Well, that's great. But what are some specific things that they are doing that are applicable elsewhere? Like little workflow nuggets you can take and actually get some leverage. And I think we're going to explore some interesting tie-ins between some of these workflows and some really boring businesses that could really be enhanced by these little tweaks.
Yep. So the first segment is run your business like you have 50 employees with 15. And this episode is about Rowan Chung, who is the founder of the Roundup AI, actually one of the AI newsletters that I receive. I believe he's got 1 million or something subscribers. Great stuff that his team sends. So that caught my eye. He was on Greg, I can never pronounce his name,
Eisenberg.
Greg Eisenberg's show, and that caught my eye. And he really talked about how he scaled a lean team of just 15 into a multi-million-dollar media operation. And he talked about his secret. He walked everybody through all the tools he's using. So it's not just AI tools, it's autonomous agents. And he shared he opened up the whole kimono so you could see the whole thing, how he is actually doing that. And again, that's so practical and maybe not super sexy necessarily, but it's super practical. And I wanted to bring it to everyone's attention so you can go and check it out for yourself. But of course, on the show, we'll have our tech wizard, Chris, kind of go through and help us with the technical aspect of that. So how do they actually use it? They use it in their daily workflows, all the way from content creation to scheduling to inbox triage. Do I say it right? Triage. So it's not just theory. Let's get into it. How did he do it? So first of all, what do you think about all of this? Like, I mean, I like how he said, the running the 15 like it's 50, he goes, it's awesome because I don't have to actually manage 50 people. I have 15 and then the AI is kind of doing the rest. So for him, he's very similar to your thing where he doesn't want to add more people to the operation if he doesn't have to. So yeah. What are your thoughts about all this?
There's so much to this. So first of all, there is a link in the description to this video with Greg Eisenberg and Rowan Chung, which I recommend you watch after the show. It's very insightful in a lot of key, like small ways that you kind of don't anticipate. But what really stands out to me is, number one, even though he's got 15 people doing the job of 50 and all this AI help, he's working his butt off. Okay, I don't want to have any these misconceptions about what's really happening here. It's not like AI is doing all the magic and he's sitting back with his heels up. It's not like that at all. But this plays on other themes that we've explored in previous episodes, particularly the theme of you to the power of AI. So Rowan Chung is the CEO or the centerpiece of this company, the Rundown AI. And a huge part of what they do, and indeed pretty much any venture you're going to have on the internet now that's not like a service business, is getting an audience online. And where's the audience? The audience lives on socials. And increasingly, and this is something I want to explore in today's show, it's difficult to carve out an audience in a new niche. Like if you don't already have somebody who's got a big audience, it's really tough to build an audience. Like it's real nice to piggyback off of a big audience and go from there. But if you don't have that, what do you do? And what Rowan has done is essentially clone himself with AI using some video tools. HeyGen to create an avatar of himself that he has trained in his speaking style and his writing style. He's mostly a writer, so he has a lot of content. So he's feeding a lot of content to these AIs, and he's got like a storyboard guy that helps him figure out content for socials. And they have this avatar speak for a couple minutes in these little clips and convey information that way. So they storyboard, they refine this stuff with AI. They ask the AI, they use Claude a bunch. They'll ask Claude, hey, like, here's what we want to talk about. Please explore this topic on socials, see what some of the emergent themes are, and figure out like what's resonating with people to make sure we mention these key points. So he's really refining the messaging with AI. He's using an avatar to create like this video presence of himself that he doesn't have to be there to do. And they've created a bunch of content. And so in about 1 year, they've gone from 0 to 150,000 followers on Instagram. And depending on what you're, selling or pushing, Instagram is actually a really sticky place for that. Like if you like ads on Instagram do better than ads on X, for example. So Instagram is a great place to have a presence. What really stood out to me about his whole experience with this, though, is imagine if you're familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V. Gary V is a video production machine. I don't know how many people he has. I'd venture to say it's at least 10. Like if you see Gary V in a New York taxi, he's got 2 cameramen in the car. He's got editors for days. He's got sound people. He's got people doing a lot of different functions to create this content that's essentially what Rowan is doing with his AI-generated avatar. Rowan has 2 guys on his social production team, one doing content refinement and storyboarding, and the other one doing like the video stuff to make sure it all works. And like putting together the imagery that goes in the videos. It's not just a talking head. It's like, they'll snap to a visual showing some scene, all that stuff. So one guy's doing visuals, one guy's doing storyboarding, and they put it all together for the socials. That's a 2-person team. Rowan doesn't have to be present on the shootings because it's an AI avatar of himself. He's like, I maybe submit a little bit of content for this, a little bit of writing for the voice. It's like, but I don't have to show up and like doing it. I don't have to be present at a photo shoot. Gary V is spending his time in that New York taxi cab creating the content with a team of individuals. That's a high maintenance team. Rowan is doing this with only 2 people.
Now, what I think another thing that really stood out to me is that Gary V has a very different personality type than Rowan does. So Gary V loves the attention. Rowan, he's more, I guess, I don't know him. I just saw him in the video, but he's more reserved, more introverted. At least that's what he comes across. He doesn't impress me as somebody who loves, that kind of attention necessarily that comes with that. So, but he's able to, he knew the video was the key, and especially the short form videos were the keys. He already had a ton of content, and that's how they were able to funnel it through this agent to create the videos that are driving their thousands and thousands of new followers.
Yeah. So I want to key in on this, and like I really want to focus on this point in this episode and in future ones, but like audience building is huge. This is a critical part of like, if you're going to build anything, you've got to do this. So it's the short form content and finding the right place for it. In this case, Instagram seems to be the right place for them. I think if you can crack the Instagram nut, it's looking pretty good. I think with YouTube, you got to publish shorts. You got to have shorts, getting that stuff out in quick circulation. It builds relevance. Another aspect of this that we'll touch on later, but for GEO or GEO, if we, I'm hearing everybody use that acronym now. So if we say GEO, we're saying generative engine optimization, the future of SEO. But for GEO, the algorithms are looking for relevance from social media platforms. Like if you get talked about, if you're being circulated, then you're relevant and you'll be in the results.
Yep.
But if you're not, you can be publishing all this content. If it's getting no views and stuff, you're not relevant. And the algos are not going to pick it up. So we have to really be mindful of that. And the audience building thing has always been a big deal. And I feel like it's only becoming more important and actually kind of You could argue it's a little tougher. I mean, Rowan is straightforward about it. He says that this is not a small endeavor just because he's not present at the photo shoots or whatever to do these this short form video content. He's got 2 full-time staff on it, and they're absolutely crushing it with AI, like really running us through its paces to get these results. But that's what drives the business.
And another thing I want to say, because you know, like we have a teenager who can look at the video and say, this is fake, this is real. And he said, you know, yeah, it's kind of creepy. It could be creepy if you know it's avatar talking. But as long as you're open about that, and like that's kind of what they've done, kind of just that, yes, it is not really me, it's my avatar. I don't think the user will care that in that regard. So for authenticity point, he actually says the voice of AI, his voice makes lesser mistakes. So maybe I need one for the show, so I wouldn't have to make this many mistakes when I speak.
Well,
so
I love it because a lot of people feel like they're not very good on video or not charismatic or whatever. They don't possess these qualities. Rowan is not an excitable guy. Like, he's not super charismatic at all. But the videos are working. So like, this is a great use case example to me. This is somebody who's not really cut out for the medium and yet is crushing it on the medium with an AI. And all he does is say, hey, there's no uncanny valley stuff here. This is an avatar, but listen, let me cook, you know, listen to what I have to say. And it works. And I can see why it works. It makes sense to me, but obviously this is accessible to anybody. Like you can do this.
Let's move on. His tool or agent number 2, do you want to talk about that?
Well, so obviously we need to create content, newsletter content, social media content, whatever, with words. And he uses a workflow. Basically, this is not new, but like he uses whisper flow, but you can use voice memos, whatever. He uses whisper flow. He'll go take a walk. He talks while walking. Probably looks like a weirdo to everyone in the neighborhood. But he talks into the thing and then feeds his voice notes into ChatGPT or Claude in his case. He feeds them into Claude when he's done with his walk. And he has a series of chats going so that it's trained on his voice. And he's constantly training the AIs that they use in his business with his voice. And he uses that. He'll have that recommend tweets, for example. And he says every Sunday he'll batch them. He goes for a walk, does the dump, gets tweets recommended for the week, and then he schedules them. Now, I don't love that, but at the same time, here's what he has done successfully. I don't love that because like I'm not a big schedule the tweets guy. I hate when I know that tweets are scheduled. It doesn't matter though. It doesn't matter. What matters is he has trained this on his most viral content over the years. He's trained it on other viral content that he would like to mimic. And Claude keeps coming back with these refined versions of posts and threads and things like that he can, post based on his, just talking his voice notes.
Yeah.
And he says it gives content that gets results.
Yep.
And so what can you, take the playbook and see what it does for you.
He shows all of that in the video too. So what to copy for those who are listening, we call it voice to post agent. And that's for content batching via daily voice capture. So it's still your voice, but you just don't have to sit there and think, what am I going to write about? And you can get your walk in. So moving on.
Well, I think the framing aspect of that is so crucial. If you have an AI that sort of like knows the industry you want to talk to or the audience you want to talk to, it can help you frame your ideas in a way that's going to catch fire a little bit more, a little bit better. Like I'm super guilty of this. Like I need to do this. Clearly I need to do this.
Yeah.
I think anyone watching probably like, oh, I could definitely get more out of what I do if I do this.
There you go. Number 3, AI editor in chief. So the workflow here is Claude fine-tunes newsletters to sharpen tone, structure, and CTA flow. So more engaging newsletters with reduced manual editing. They do have very engaging newsletters. So again, like we use them for the show and we kind of read through them. So what do you have to say about that?
My takeaway from that segment that he had was that they get a very well-formed content prompt from Claude, but they don't copy and paste it. They'll use the structure, like Claude gives them a basic structure, and maybe they make 3 points, let's say. And they will try to rewrite it, and then they'll compare that. And oftentimes he says, like, we'll look at a couple of these bullet points, and like 2 out of 3 of them, Claude says it something in a little bit better way. And then they refine the messaging based on that. And then maybe he'll dump that back in there and say, make this better. And then sometimes that gets refined further, simplified, things like that. You can say, make it more concise. And so it's an iterative approach that doesn't rely strictly on the generated output, which I think is key. Let's just mention the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is you don't want to be targeted by the audience to saying that's AI content. You're just reposting AI slop. So you want to avoid that. This is one way to avoid that in an iterative process that actually is like an editor. That's what a good editor does. Okay, here's the new submission. Oh, here, make these refinements. Okay, here's another submission. Oh, we could even tighten this up more. It's just doing that, but using the LLMs to do it.
And it creates your own brand that's specifically yours. Like I know I started doing that for the Practical AI show. So I'm training our kind of bot or whatever on just how to be consistent with all of that stuff. And it's a process, but again, that's an interesting editor-in-chief that is an AI. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Now moving on, you like this one, Scheduler Agent, Ava. So want to talk about that?
I think this is the most important piece of today's show. Really, like when we boil it all down in the end, I think this is it. So this is amazing.
Don't go anywhere though.
He is, yeah. No, we're going to come back to this. This is going to get revisited just because of the application. So he uses a tool called Lindy AI. So I'm going to pull this up real quick. Lindy AI. And I've heard of this, but I hadn't really looked at it. So this is not super illustrative of what it does. But it gives you, if you use the tool, you can build flowcharts, informational flowcharts that are enhanced by AI. So you could do something like say, okay, I've got this Google business account. So at whatever.pagemotor.com, and I set up a new email address there called Chris AI at pagemotor.com. And you can email chrisai at pagemotor.com, but Lindy will make it respond. It's an AI responder. Okay, AI will respond to the email. And now you can connect this email address you've created, this AI email responder, to other processes in your business, specifically scheduling stuff. That's how he demonstrates it in the video with Greg Eisenberg. So he's got this flowchart saying, okay, if there's a new contact, and the first thing we need to do is some sort of meeting for the onboarding or whatever it is, then pick from these time slots in my calendar. And so he set up his calendar. It's just a Google calendar. And he specified certain blocks of time. Like you don't want to have it available, like the whole calendar. You don't want it choosing all over the day. He's got like 2.5 hours per day that he's designated as preferred contact times. And so the Lindy AI bot will go through there and look. Okay, on Monday, he's got 1.5 hours available. Here's the times. Wednesday and this one. And it'll respond to the person who's done the initial inquiry. It'll say, and it responds immediately. This is what's so key. So a customer has inquired. They get a response immediately. Hey, these 3 times here's 3 potential times this week. Which one works best for you? They respond back. Oh, I like Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. And then the bot returns immediately, says, okay, I got it set up. Check your email for the invite. You just got it. And then this thing has another layer of like, what if these people bail on the first agreed upon time? It can do an automatic rescheduling.
But how is it different than Calendly, for example?
Well, so it isn't a lot different than Calendly, except that it's automated and all your responses happen immediately. If there's a question, if there's a change, you ask the person, hey, is 7:30 work for you? But this AI bot is handling that entire transaction. You haven't had to ask, and it already gets scheduled. The Lindy AI bot, fills in the time on your calendar, so now it's there. And then if this person cancels, it'll handle the cancellation and do a rebooking. So I saw this, and I immediately think about boring businesses. Can't help it. I immediately think about like the HVAC service in town, or anything that has any sort of scheduling like that. Like any service-based business that uses this workflow is going to dominate. Yep. How many times do you reach out to somebody and you don't get a response for hours? Like you're trying to get something done. Best case scenario, you get an immediate response. This is that. Like, I mean, what's the boring business takeaway? Just go apply this to your basic service businesses and it's transformative.
Right. Yep. And with Calendly, sometimes it feels like complaint that we hear sometimes. When is it okay to send you Calendly? the first meeting, the second meeting, like you don't want to turn people off because here's my link, schedule something, versus like if it's going back and forth like a human, that still kind of has that more personal feeling.
So Rowan mentions this in the video. It's worth sharing with the audience. But Calendly looks boomerish now. This is not fair, but it's the way it is. Like if you're under 30 and sending somebody Calendly links, you are a loser. A loser. You're not going to be
that.
I'm just saying, if it's a scarlet letter, we may as well call it out. This is absolutely a scarlet letter. Like you don't do it. So, like this guy was motivated enough to go to these links to slightly improve the workflow and to not have to send a Calendly link.
Yeah.
Like you do have to do scheduling. Like we can agree on that. But you don't want to do anything that's cringe.
All right. Well, there you go. Don't be cringe. Use Ava.
I mean, pretty funny stuff. But anyway.
So it's native AI scheduler embedded in your team side of product. So
I want to extend this. If you are doing sales that requires any kind of personal anything, having instant responses and getting to the next step in that process is so crucial. Yeah. It's so crucial. It's like irreplaceable.
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of like having an assistant, but even beyond, because it's instant. So I love it. Let's keep going. Onboarding Assistant. So he uses that. He trains AI on his company SOPs, Looms, HR docs, and all new hires use AskGPT first policy. So it's reduced onboarding load, fewer Slack questions. So that's for you if you have any people on your team, and that is golden. So that way you don't have to actually train somebody. It's already there. So do you have anything kind of to add to that?
I love that. So the whole title of the segment is he runs what would be a 50 employee business with 15 people. And one of the ways he accomplishes this is that the company policy, the company culture, if you will, is an Ask GPT first thing. They have their own internal docs and all that stuff in their GPT. And if you have a question, you should seek to get it answered through there first. And then if something is not answerable through that, it's actually beneficial to the entire company because if it's a reasonable person that you've hired, their question is probably rational along these workflow lines, and it needs to be added to the SOPs in there anyway.
Right.
So it's a really, really good setup, and it's sensible anyway. Like,
and it could be. I mean, we're already using this for our team. Like, we connected our drive with all our documents to our workspace. And it's incredible that it does look through that. So this only inspired me to double down on this. And hi there, to really use that for the training, because as any of you know, when you're hiring a new person, like one of the main reasons people don't like doing that is because you have to train that person. And then when you have to fire somebody, then you have to think, oh my God, I have to train somebody again. And so this is an interesting way to kind of lay all that out and do some of the work up front, but then it works for you as you go. I like that.
Well, I also think like if you're a business operator, you maybe take it for granted that you're doing processes all the time. Oh, this thing comes up, I have to go through support. I'm following a process. I'm not really thinking about it in those terms. I'm just getting things done. But you are following a process. Larger businesses, obviously they have processes and stuff like that in place, but it's never like a really clear playbook. Like, I think we should be honest about that. It's kind of this nebulous. It's not really totally like, okay, follow this rubric kind of thing. And it's really not possible with the old ways. But, this GPT first kind of thing, it really makes it very attainable. Like, you can really have true business processes that your employees can follow with this setup.
So again, go check it out. What you can copy here, if you do have people on your team, company GPT, and it trains your agents on your internal knowledge base. It's gold. I actually did something this morning for our team, and then that way it's all out there. People can search through and get and start working with this ASAP. So like it's so easy, and I love it. Moving on, inbox. Triage. See the GPT Olga would say it right. Triage Agent. Agent filters spam, surfaces VIPs,
important emails,
tag teams in Slack. If anybody has to work with email in their business, like me, we all know the dread that comes with that. So any kind of things that helps me kind of get through that is helpful. However, we'll talk about that before I guess we have another segment that talks about the other side of the dark side of things. But what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, It's all process flows, especially if you have like you might have historically received emails for your company, but as your company grows, then you want somebody else to handle that. Then having this real good filtering, this going beyond basic Gmail filtering. This is like an action-based filtering. Well, if this happens, then we're going to do this with this kind of email. Like actually getting some of those processes out of the way, automated with AI, in a way that was not really possible before. So it's like beyond the filter.
Yeah, so that way you know exactly what to focus on and not stare in the thing. Again, check it out how to do this if you overwhelmed with the email and want to prioritize. And then the seventh one is AI Tutor Learning Agent. So what it is Perplexity Comment turns podcast YouTube content into searchable, explorable, knowledgeable base, and content becomes evergreen, interactive learning asset. And so basically what to copy here is ask your blog agent for content sites and course creators. So what do you think about that?
Well, my takeaway from that was sort of the value that can be mined from YouTube. So you can use a browser like Perplexity Comet, an AI enhanced browser, to go to a video and watch it. And it can actually have that information in transcript form and actually also do summary type stuff. And then that is a searchable, indexable thing that you can use to answer queries. If you think about it, the content of videos is not directly indexed in search engines.
No,
But
to get a transcript, I mean, you have to still humanly go and do
yeah,
that.
so there's this promise, this potential that these AIs can actually sort of see videos in that way. And if you just think about the content landscape, well, suddenly it's going to balloon by like a factor of greater than 100%. There's going to be double the content immediately if YouTube is accessible in this way, YouTube and other things. Yeah, and Jim and I can transcribe YouTube videos, super useful. Absolutely. So there is a whole lot of value being extracted from the video content that we've already seen as valuable over the last 15 years. So we're seeing an uptick in that. And I think that's definitely going to, especially for any like how to and like basic educational stuff, this is really going to transform education very soon. We're going to see a lot of, and actually we're going to change the way we think about education. Is it really educational to have like the steps laid out for you and you be able to follow them? Probably not. Like education is going to shift to this more synthetic layer of like association and putting things together, as opposed to just following a few steps.
Mm-hmm.
So fascinating where that is pointing, I think.
So to wrap this up, he does talk about the stack that he talked about costs about $500 a month across Claude, Zapier, HeyGen, 11 Labs, etc. So there's that. So I would, if you were to implement, I would just pick one or two and just kind of start chipping away so you don't get overwhelmed with that. And then avatar videos, we talked about this, require disclosures. And I kind of like that anyway, just kind of say, hey, this is only honest. Like, this is not me, this is my avatar. So that, but you're still getting the value of that. And then he also talks about that AI does not mean fully hands off. Most agents only get you 90% of the way, and human insight kind of still defines quality. So any last thoughts and takeaways on
I
that?
do on the AI video thing is so fascinating. Think about it like this. If you don't disclose that it's an AI video, people will think you're scamming and it's like uncanny valley and it's super cringe and bad. But if you do say it's AI, you're actually probably going to win double because there's this curiosity around the subject right now. Oh, wait, this is an AI generated video, but this seems really good. It's the audience is receiving the same information. They're just viewing it differently. And one way is super negative and the other way is super positive. It's like there's no middle ground here right now. But
so to me,
you can see where that would enhance the content.
Remember a couple of episodes ago, we talked about how 95% of AI projects failed in the enterprise world because the bigger the company, the more likely they're not going to use whatever AI I think you're trying to implement. This is like the opposite of that, right? So this is a lean company that is, again, we cannot obviously check his claim that he's making $1 million whatever operation. We don't know that, but he clearly
had a really nice camera.
He really is, he really built something very lean and special, and he's sharing that, and you see how it works. So it's kind of like the opposite. Like, you can't look what you can accomplish and do with AI already, right? And so anyway, that's kind of like, I'm just curious, like what would what would that look like for creators, next year? Would you just kind of buy an agent to just go and do it for you, that somebody figured that out? Would you kind of everybody have to do their own way of figure out what works in their business? Like, what do you think? What does it look like on a mass scale?
I think trainable avatars absolutely coming. I've already seen a lot of chatter along these lines, but there's going to be some service you just get, upload your thing and make sure your avatar, sort of like creating a character in video games, has been for over a decade now. And so trainable avatars like that for use in video content, and they'll be able to talk and do all that stuff. You feed them a script. And then another layer of that is going to be like scenes, imagery and scenes in video, overlaying that. Okay, show my avatar right now. Okay, pan out. Now it's this, looking in a Switzerland valley, and we're panning and zooming through the mountains and all this stuff, and then switch back to this scene or show the product, that kind of thing. That's going to be a fluid sort of thing in the future. I mean, there's just too much desire for that kind of content, and that's where all the content and audience growth lies. So there's a lot of demand for that. Especially
for people that have a lot of content that they haven't really had the time to leverage or use or create and whatnot. So the takeaway from here, if anything piqued your interest, pick one, go watch how he does it. This is truly hands-on, not the sexy talk of how it would be or could be. This is actually happening. So if you have a problem, there's a person out there who already solved that. So go check it out, watch it, apply it, let us know how it works. So we have a question from Esther. Did you see the question?
Yeah. So we talk about this every show in some capacity. And the question is, for software developers, is AI like more positive than negative? Is this actually, helpful? Is this actually useful? What's actually happening there? We talked about a study that MIT conducted a few weeks ago where 95% of the AI driven initiatives that have happened in big companies over the last couple of years have resulted in total failure. A 5% success rate, a 95% failure rate. Obviously, if you look at just startups and independent stuff, the numbers are going to be a lot different. So it depends on where you're coming from. And the conclusion to draw from that, I'll get to that in just a moment. But, if you're starting like in Google, in an existing team, and you have to work with existing stuff within Google, it is a lot harder. What we've discovered, it's a lot harder to shoehorn AI into existing systems. In many cases, it's not going to happen. I would say in almost every case, it's not going to work. So they spend a bunch of time and energy on this. They're finding out it doesn't work. But these lean startup teams can start with a clean slate with AI at the forefront, not shoehorning it in, but saying, let's build this whole thing around an AI core. Those initiatives are having a lot higher success rate. And the reason why is they don't have to deal with any technical debt. So for those teams, if you get to start from a clean slate, AI is absolutely the future. It's a winning play.
And the secret there is, as we talked about last episode, is that no one quite knows yet, or not a lot of companies are doing it at all, how to build AI native products. And this is where the software engineers really gonna you have to unthink everything and rethink a lot to sort of move on. So you can't just have AI build this code, because AI is a yes, as we talked about, yes man, and it will do whatever you want, but it's really not up there to kind of innovate and create something new necessarily.
Yeah. And is AI taking jobs? AI is taking jobs that are strictly procedural. And I think we can all look at what we do and be honest. And I've encouraged that in the previous show as like a workflow kind of thing you need to examine. Is this stuff I'm doing, is this just like a repetitive thing that I just apply? Because if so, that's a job for AI. But is this stuff like higher level thinking? Is this a synthesis sort of thing? Am I bringing ideas together and kind of reaching into new horizons? That is a job for humans.
Yeah.
So boring jobs are getting taken. Those jobs probably shouldn't have existed anyway, or at least low value, if we're being honest in our assessment. So we're shifting human stuff to higher value work. So I kind of see it in a positive light. I'm not like negative or black-pilled about this at all. I'm like, oh, I want humans to do the brighter things. I don't want humans to do repetitive cog-like tasks. It feels like it's like demeaning to humanity to me in some way.
Yeah. I had to argue with AI this morning about certain things that it was telling me, and I was like, nah, this is not how it works in this world. And so we had to like go back and forth. And then at the end, it's like, I see your point, right? And so but it's not because I wanted it to see my point. I wanted to give it context. That in my world, this is how it works. I want you to remember that context And if I did not have that context, AI would just give me this blanket answer that doesn't really get me anywhere. So that's sort of like the creativity is going to be like even more important as we keep going.
AI is sort of like a horse. It needs a jockey.
Yeah.
It's going to run all over the place.
So speaking of that, let's move on to the next segment. Great question. Thank you so much for being so engaged. I love it. So we're gonna skim through this, but basically, I thought we needed to include this. There was this guide in AI Journal, one of the newsletters, that talked about that most AI MVPs fail, but not because they're too slow, but because they're built without clarity. Founders rush to ship with AI, but forget to scope, validate, and define success metrics. So speed alone is dangerous, right? If you're trying to do something too fast, it leads to wasted sprints or shallow builds, and team must balance AI velocity with proper product discipline. So this is kind of common sense, but we also are seeing the gold rush of AI right now. And what do you think about all of that with what's happening?
Well, I love this actually, because there needs to be some pushback. So obviously in business, there's always this desire for speed. Speed equals you get the early dollars, you get more, you capitalize on more faster. That does matter if you only care about making money. But if you're building stuff with AI,
if you only care about raising money,
raising or even capturing just whatever.
Right. But like I'm just saying, like there's a lot of raising money with products that haven't been thought through, that haven't been designed, and then like you release them and they flop.
Right. Well, I mean, however you want to get that, whether it's through investment dollars or actually, dollars from the market.
Okay, fine.
Speed sort of kills. Speed is everything. But quality is not built through speed, unfortunately. And we've talked about this a bunch. The deal with AI is we have to build highways that AI can navigate more effectively. Our existing highways are a product of our old systems, our legacy systems that are broken, and that is massively limiting to what AI can actually do for us. Mm-hmm. So our job is to build the new highways. That is not a super fast task. It doesn't have to be a super slow task, but it's not as fast as business would like. The speed of business, I promise you, is much faster than the speed these highways can actually be built. So the most sound investment plays, the most sound startup plays, the stuff that's really going to have legs is going to be a little bit slower churning in these ways because they'll be building stuff that's meaningful, and meaningful stuff takes time. Nothing really meaningful happens immediately. It just doesn't.
Right. And so here, the takeaway from here is make sure you've got, it's common sense, right? Like have a scoping checklist before you even start prompting. Like what should your MVP even do? Like what's the outcome? What's the result? And not just like get through and build something and hopefully it'll stick.
I just give it a little anecdote here. So I'm building PageMotor, which is an AI native CMS platform, kind of to replace WordPress, but really to publish anything you want online. And while AI has been at the center of my thoughts since I began development, the slow nature of the development is revealing new ways that AI is going to affect it. Like I see now that the basic interface is going to change beyond what I ever thought it was going to be. I see now that the way the process flows, like the onboarding, the wizard, if you will, of how users will take this and turn it into something meaningful. That's changing. As new information comes out and these more is revealed. And if I tried to stuff all this in up front in a very fast way, I wouldn't have been able to have these insights, and I might not have had the flexibility that I still have in front of me to make these changes and to make this thing as good as it can be. So I think there's benefits that aren't really understood or spoken about very much to having a methodical plotting pace to this, because it's impossible to imagine properly the new world we're going into up front. If you're just going to whiteboard this thing, I promise you're not going to get it all right. Yeah. But if you walk down that path a little bit, you're going to kind of see how this needs to be. Like you have to go out and walk the path to see it. You can't just do it on a whiteboard. Yeah.
And to sum it up, what's the takeaway here?
Slow is okay. Methodical is okay. Maybe not slow, but you can push, but it's not all, you're not going to shove it all out there up front and have your thing. Might work for getting, if you just want to get investment dollars or something, maybe that's the play. I'm not expert in that arena. I don't like to play those games, but
well, it's like start with the end in
know.
mind and like have some KPIs or some kind of things how you would know that it's being successful. And so like just think about that and work backwards. And so that's, to me, it's kind of common sense, but it's very interesting.
I
That
think a lot of AIs, like, we don't really know what we can do. We have some ideas about what we can capture and what we can do, but you really need to focus, like the early parts of the journey, the scaffolding is like, do what you know you can do.
Yeah.
And then try to make it so that you can do more. And that's really the journey with AI. What can we do that we can't currently do?
So moving on, we are talking about the news this week. Actually, like the news that I wanted to add up very quickly. Microsoft just bet 80 billion on AI infrastructure, so they're really doubling down on that, putting some cash in making that happen. There's also interesting research that AI salaries are, I mean, they are up 40%. So people in AI who, I guess, market themselves or they know what they're doing, the salaries just keep going through the roof. So the war for talent is speeding up. So there's some research that was done there. And then another piece of news that XAI laid off generalists to hire domain experts when it comes to tutoring AI on specific, I guess, niches. So I think they laid off like 500 people because they really want to double down on getting more specialized knowledge tutors on tutoring their AI, which I thought that was interesting. So what do you think about this? Like the game is getting more expensive, but also more specialized. So this is kind of what you've been preaching, I guess.
I mean, I've talked about it every single show. I got to mention it again this week. The theme of AI, the overarching theme, the thing that is absolutely clear is that AI is helping us achieve more specific outcomes. If you want to get the most out of AI, you have to give it the most specific input. So it's just every direction you look, it's specificity.
Yep.
For geo, for you know, the new SEO, you want super specialized pages serving up super specialized information to these AIs.
Well, and
specialization everywhere you look.
And now the companies want more specialized talent. I see this all the time. I want somebody who's already has AI, knowledge or skills or whatever role they're hiring for. So this is only going to continue to increase. And so, but I definitely wanted to kind of talk about that. And speaking of kind of replacing the jobs, I think I don't know who's KN, but they mentioned that you can be more of the orchestrator, the manager type than actually doing the work. Yeah. And so that's why this is very important that we kind of talk about that. So really the takeaway here is that yes, it's becoming more and more expensive. It's hitting up the if you continue to improve yourself and augment yourself with AI, you're only going to get more and more valuable. That is my passion about doing the show, is because I want everybody to be tooled up for what's coming and know what's going on, because every position, every role, I think that I'm going to talk about that next time in the next segment, but there's like years on when certain positions will become obsolete. So if you're not like augmenting yourself, like that could be that role. So that's kind of the key takeaway here for me.
Ironically, if AI salaries are up 40%, the people who are reaping those rewards are the ones who are the best at making their sales pitch with AI.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. So keep tooling yourself up and keep watching our show, I guess. So the next segment is from somebody. I feel like Darmesh, even though I've never met him, he's like a friend of mine now.
Is he our mascot?
I just I love his style of talking about complex things and making them simpler. So in his newsletter, highly recommended too, he talked about MCP Protocol, how you can plug AI into anything. So I know you're passionate about this. So what can you, should I go ahead and kind of cover what he talked about?
I riffed on this last week about the MCP and how this, now I now see this is the key. So like if you have a piece of software that you use to do whatever it is you do, you want AI embedded in that thing. But how's that really going to work? You can't stick Claude in there directly. You can't stick ChatGPT in there directly. What do? We're going to do something. You're going to use something called an MCP, a model context protocol. That's nerd speak. We don't care. MCP, an MCP server is a special thing that I would maybe develop. If you use my software, I would build an MCP server with prompts and information specific to that working environment. This information can then be used by every other existing LLM that implements the MCP protocol, which is all of them. So Claude, ChatGPT, whatever, could query my MCP server. You could say, hey, I need you to do this for me. Use this thing because this is all the information you need. And it'll say, oh, I got you, fam. It's like having a way to instantly train these LLMs on very specific information. And this can be updated over time. I can always update my MCP server, and that enhances everything that borrows this model. And it's a way, again, to embed a prompt or something in actual software that you use and bring AI to you. It's one thing to have it in the centralized thing where you have to go to the main prompt. It's quite another to have it right there in your working environment with the tools that you're actually using. So that's the MCP thing. A real quick aside, I got to run a picture of Dharmesh through Nano Banana and make him a little illustrated icon so we can have our Dharmesh segment for the show and we can have a little video thing. So note to self there. But anyhow, I want to have some fun with this.
Yeah, so I mean, he's clearly very passionate about this topic. So he talked about how AI integration, MCP allows the AI integration seamless across tools like Slack, Gmail, HubSpot, Notion, spreadsheets, and it's like Zapier for AI agents. Now I'm thinking about how Zapier is going to take that. And even if Zapier is even going to exist with MCP, I don't know. Maybe that's something that you can chime in later. And so why it matters for us, right? So like Chris said, most builders are stuck in prompt loops, right? So there's lots of prompts, there's lots of chats, there's lots of projects inside my ChatGPT. I actually want the real hatch to be able to kind of hook to different things. And this is how I see it. And I think, didn't you describe it like USB-C thing for AI or something?
Yeah, he calls it a USB-C hub for AI. Like anything that has this connector can then be plugged in and used.
Right. And so he says that HubSpot is the first CRM that integrated MCP in their CRM already. So those businesses that use HubSpot, they already can run queries on, let's say, show me the deals that have been stalled for more than 30 days and show me kind of with the last conversations and trends. And so it's already sort of like HubSpot is layering this AI of their audience to you or customers to use AI inside their CRM. Because I love and hate CRMs because yes, they're great because they have so much information, and I hate them because anytime you want to do something, you have to go and search and click through, and I just want to go and, I don't know, run away if I have to deal with that. So I like that he's kind of putting that in a practical application already that thousands of customers will be able to use. So do you have anything else to say about about that?
I didn't mean to do that. I don't know how to do that. There we go.
What did you do?
I was clicking around on comments trying to read them, and apparently you can display a comment on the screen, which is actually handy to know.
Love it. Anyway, so MCP is a kind of new API layer, right, for AI. So we talked about that just to kind of sum this up. So
it's a way. So if you have an idiosyncratic working environment, which there's a zillion of these, there's knowledge and information and procedures specific to that working environment that the AIs may not know or would need some additional direction. You want like a professional concierge to guide them through. This is the way to do that. So then when the LLMs or the AIs query this or talk to this thing, they're like talking to a professional who knows their way around the building, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So so the AIs like Claude, ChatGPT, all of them, they have their core knowledge base. It's always needing to be expanded. It cannot expand infinitely with the knowledge that's happening out there. Knowledge that happens at the nodes, increase of knowledge that happens at the nodes doesn't get captured by the AIs until it's published. Well, there's so much stuff that doesn't truly get published in that way, in a way that could be captured by them. So the question for the LLMs is, well, how can we get that knowledge if it's not published? How can we ever capture this? What do we do? The idea then is that the nodes do this publishing and say, hey, here's the info you need.
Yeah.
So that's really the power of the MCPs. It is a way to extend the awareness and the usefulness of LLMs at the node level, because they're centralized. They need help from the nodes to really be awesome.
So do you think that it will replace Zapier or like other things like Zapier?
I don't use that, and I have to call it Zapier because I have to follow the rules of English. I can't just throw that out the window because they want to be called Zapier. Anyway, I just think that it's a connect the dots platform. And when you're connecting the dots with these LLMs and the stuff, the tools that people really want to use and find most useful, especially as everything begins to converge on a prompt-driven interface, especially this, I can't stress this enough. They're going to be the preferred means of operation. It's sort of like the 25, 30-year journey of the single search bar input in Google.
Yep.
If we can just have a single point of entry, an input field for everything, that's going to win.
Okay, that's the good side, right? So that's great. But how do you approach, or developers approach, trust, permission, and security when wiring AI into live systems? It's kind of like Trojan horse. I feel like it could be that. You're like literally welcoming anybody in there. Can they just mess it up? And like, is there any kind of danger that comes with that? And like, how do you build around that?
It depends on the circumstances. Operationally, if you have something that can only be accessed through like an admin backend and you have the MCP, well, you can have all the knowledge in the world with that MCP, but if you don't have the admin access, you can't do anything with it. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
But
So
there's other operational cases where you probably could.
To come into certain points of your software. So you don't just like let it all, coming in and take it.
Well, I'm still not 100% clear on what that landscape will look like or how it will be operationally. So like, imagine if we're in the page motor admin, imagine it's like WordPress, except it's just a single prompt and it's some AI. Well, how does that run? Because MCP is part of it, but like that actual prompt brain, what is that? Is it like being borrowed in from Claude? Is it then getting all that environmental information about my environment? Is it able to read my database? Like, I don't have those answers yet.
Okay.
So I am keenly interested in how that ends up unfolding and what that looks like.
Okay. Well, and I think somebody said in the chat, I don't trust MCP, to be honest. I'm reluctant about using it, rather trust my own automations.
Well, it's not really about that. It's about an extensible platform. We have to find a way to extend this. What do we do? I like what Kayan said. He's saying that you have full control. You can whitelist any tools in the MCP. Yeah, that's true, but I'm still not clear because it's not just the MCP that would be operating there. The AI agent inside the application would be accessing the MCP as its main knowledge base, but it's not the MCP itself, unless the MCP can run autonomously, which I'm not. I don't know if that's the case. I have not done it, so I don't know.
Gotcha. Okay.
MCP is just the API exposed in a way that agents can use. That does make sense to me. We'll see how that plays out. So I'm not too overly concerned with that. I want to get the results first, and if there's security holes later, we can deal with those.
Well, listen, I have HubSpot, so I'm going to play with that. Now that I know that they've got that, I want to understand like how I can connect my.
Casey said he likes something called Breeze agents in HubSpot. I've not messed with that at all, so I don't know what.
Well, there you go. I'm going to have to check it out. See, I learned something new. Thank you. So any kind of takeaway from the segment before I move on?
Real quick, Esther says, so as a dev, I don't really need it. It's just getting in the way. Wait till you see something that's able to rapidly prototype stuff that would have taken development teams weeks to do before. And we'll see if you still feel like you don't really need it or that it's getting in the way. I understand your sentiment completely, and I have felt similarly for years, but I also see what's possible, and I'm convinced now. So we'll see.
All right.
But it's a see it to believe it thing. I got to show you guys so you really understand.
Awesome. Let's move on. So speaking of practical, we did talk about GEO a couple episodes ago. It's AI search. How do you say they're saying it now? Geo? They don't say GEO.
Yeah, they're geoing.
So if we're cool, we gotta say
saying G then E is very cumbersome. So I guess we're just geo.
Anyway, so we had a segment about that, and then you can talk about you can see the basics. But today we have a practical implementation of what that looks like. Again, this is the video I saw on Greg's channel. That I love Greg's channel for practical stuff. He's interviewing some really cool people. And I wish I knew the guy that he interviewed on this, but
yeah. I should have got his name. I didn't actually know the guy, but he was knowledgeable. He was saying all the right things. I was like, this guy gets
right.
it.
So basically, so Chris talked about kind of what GEO is, and today we're going to talk about the practical implementation of like how can you actually work with that. And you can watch the video that will be in the notes. But basically, it's GEO is a shorthand for getting visibility in AI search platforms. Some people are losing their minds online, saying that GEO is just a bunch of baloney and SEO is just like here, it's not going anywhere. And the way I look at it is that SEO is kind of like version 1.0. Like GEO, you have to separate it somehow. That it's AI search. It's no longer just the search engine optimization. So like we got to separate it a little bit. And I like that there's a new term for that. So we don't have to explain it over and over.
I can see why the old crotchety SEO types get cranky about this, because you're using the same stuff. We've already been using, schema data in the markup. We've already had a push for, certain elements to be included in there. So it's like, is that really different? No, but we are just, GEO is an acknowledgement that these are crucial. These are useful to machines. Machines are definitely the ones doing this now. To me, it's more of an acknowledgement of the audience shift.
Yeah.
It was humans doing the searching. It's not exclusively humans now. We want the AIs to be picking this up. And crucially, maybe the most crucial thing that they talk about in this video is that the signals are not just coming from web pages that get cited by others. Links were the key to SEO.
Right.
But social data is a very big key, increasingly important key to geo stuff. If people aren't talking about your stuff, is it really that relevant? The AIs are going to have awareness of how much people are talking about your stuff. It's huge. Like Grok has a big advantage with that real-time data about conversational data that gives them a vibe of the market in real time. That is super, super valuable data.
Oh, so let's dig into that. So at the end of the day, what does this really mean? That it means that you want to show up in answers, right? From ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, basically be found when people ask product style or discovery queries. So you just want to be the lucky one that shows up when people are asking for your type of service or whatever it is that you're doing. So why does it matter now? What they're noticing is that AI-driven traffic has higher conversions, which is actually not surprising, right? Because visitors who land on your site after doing their research via AI chat are more likely to buy, sometimes 10 to 40% conversion versus 1 to 2% from traditional SEO, because they've already done the work in chat and the chat recommends you. So it's kind of like, it almost feels like, at least to me, that there's this level of some kind of other verification that I didn't have to do. Maybe this is what you were talking about.
Well,
so what do you think about that?
We now conduct, or increasingly are conducting, product research that we find reliable enough to guide a purchase through querying AIs. And it makes sense. It gives us a richer feedback. It mimics the experience of really shopping around and getting into the details. Nobody likes this. Nobody likes having to search for a whole bunch of stuff and like figure out what to buy. I don't think anybody enjoys that process, but it is necessary for certain things. The guy in the video cited that like if you are going to introduce a tool for your business that all your employees are going to use, you are really going to be down in the nitty-gritty details, figuring out if this is truly the right product for you and your team. AI is now serving that function, which is great. And he also highlighted another distinction, which I love, is there's two types of purchasers, really. There's more than that, but we can be very general here and say there's two types of purchasers. One type is like, I saw this thing on an Instagram ad for like clothing and I want it. Like I already know I want it. I didn't have to do any research. I just saw it. I had an affinity for it. I want to buy it. It's not a very deep decision. So their type of SEO, they just need to make sure that I can find that product and then I'm going to buy it. That's all they got to, if that road is covered and they got their ad stuff in place, they're good to go. Their processes are clean. But if you are doing selling a product, so like I've sold WordPress themes for years, people do a lot of research for those. Is this one better than that one? It's a comparison shopping kind of product.
Right.
For those, you better darn well be showing up in a way that these LLMs can make decisions on in a smart way. They better be able to reason whether or not your product is right for somebody, because if not, that is the comparison shopping of the future. So if that's your kind of product, if it's a comparison shopping item, geo is important to your initiatives. No question about it.
And we talked about last time about the truth-seeking AI and like having like we kind of walked around how do you program your AI to give you the answer if it knows or it doesn't know, so that way you kind of you're not getting just the yes man all the time. And so even like for me, right? So I do a lot of research for the show, and like I said, I go through a lot of newsletters, and of course I use my chatbot to help me with that. And what I realized last night or 2 days ago, whenever I was finishing up the show, I put them through my truth teller, bot, and I've realized a couple segments that I've put on, they were actually promotional pieces from those newsletters. So I failed to say to the AI, as you're looking through newsletters, omit anything that has promotion or advertising, because some of those segments I was like, oh my God, this is too good to be true or whatever. And as I was putting them through the bot, the truth bot, it told me that it is promotional advertising, but it didn't catch that in the beginning. So for me, instead of going through the newsletter and trying to see if it was news, whatever, my AI was able to run through it again and tell me what was real, what was not real. And to me, like the trust factor for that as a consumer, I think is only going to keep going higher. Another interesting thing, our son goes to this little school where I get to talk to the principal and the owner, and she said that they're seeing an increased number of people coming to them. It's a different kind of school out there through ChatGPT. And so she says that there's more and more traffic that people come to them when they learn about Acton Academy from ChatGPT and talking about alternatives to different schools. So that's another interesting thing, that's where their traffic is coming from.
That's a comparison shopping kind of product.
Right. So number 3, right? Kind of, we talked about why it matters. So traffic volume is still small. So this is why I think a lot of people are freaking out to call it something different. And that's early stage. And so Geo isn't replacing Google yet. But it's heading that direction. The total number of searches is still much higher on Google, but the intent quality from AI search is higher, right? And that's kind of what you talk about. So high ticket price, things, B2B SaaS, service businesses, creators with niche or premium brands. I mean, that is important for those people in those niches to really be paying attention to GEO.
Yeah.
And so how AI search works, it's powered by Google. Again, this is from this video that we talked about. Indirectly, LLMs like ChatGPT and Perplexity often take a user query, rewrite it in 100+ derivative versions, AI fanning.
It's called AI fanning. Yeah, interesting little process.
Then search Google Bing for those, scrape top 1,000 URLs, and build the answer from those snippets. So what do you, as the brain of this operation, what do you think about this?
Well, so what they do is they try to cast a wide net and get as much information from the search engines as they can. But they all know that that's not the only information or the only reliable information, and that the information on search engines, there's a high incentive to game it. So is it honest? So what they do to augment this is they try to scrape social data to determine market sentiments as well. And also video content, like, is this appearing on YouTube? Are people talking about this? If so, what does that landscape look like? So they're adding an extra layer there that goes beyond traditional search and beyond the gamification of traditional search that attempts to gauge real market sentiments, which is really the only mechanism we have to bypass gaming. There's a lot of incentive to game search engines. Well, that means that data is not necessarily as reliable as like a word of mouth thing. You would trust that over results, just purely gamified results. So how can we get beyond the gamification? Well, we have to query the real-time sentiment of people to get past it. That's all we've got, because every system gets gamed. You must understand this. If there's rules to the game and people are playing the game, it's being gamed to the maximum extent possible. Oh, you run this long enough, that's the result. The only thing that gets past that is people's real world experiences and anecdotal lived realities to say, this worked for me and here's why. And that information connects and people are like, I trust this because of this. That's the only way you can get past the gamified results. So all these engines are aiming for that. And they're pulling that in. That's what makes it better than a traditional search. And that's what makes it like invariably the future.
Yeah. And he does walk you through how to do this, right? So like that was again, that's more of a practical application. How do you actually, focus on being mentioned in listicles, comparison posts, review style? Like he actually walks you through, how do you have others talk about you? Like how would you describe the actual playbook on this? If somebody wants to go and apply this today, like what do they have to do?
Like to get enhanced GEO?
Yeah.
GEO?
Yeah.
Well, I think you have to do a multi-pronged approach. Number one, you have web pages that are technically optimized. You have a sitemap that refers to this page. You have schema data on the page, and you have highly specialized content on that page. Specificity.
Mm-hmm.
Just that topic, nothing else. No, check out my newsletter. No, nothing. Just this. Boom. That's phase one, your content. Phase two, you have social media content about this that points back to this resource somehow. Like, okay, so here's another pro tip. If you're posting on X, you don't put a link in your main tweet. You put it in your follow-up. In your main tweet, you put an image in there. Images capture attention, image or video. So you do that. That captures attention. You're going to get more views and stuff that way. That increases the footprint of this content. A third thing that I think is sort of essential, you have video content, ideally short video content about this topic. So now you have three things that are being used to assess whether or not, or the value of this information. You have the information itself, and then you have social pointers and video content about this resource. And that is really a geo-optimized framework for that bit of information. And I would even take this a step further and say like that web page needs to have open graph data. That open graph data needs to include an image that's relevant to that piece of content. Ideally, the YouTube video, if it's a YouTube video, would have a thumbnail associated with it. Okay, like you really want image assets associated with this thing. It's like a micro brand. Every bit of content that you put out specifically that you want to win in geo needs to have its like own little tight micro brand around it and all the assets that are necessary. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. To train AIs, it'd be a lot of work. I don't want to like make you think this is some easily attainable thing. It's not necessarily, but this is the playbook. In the future, we'll be having AIs. Like one of my visions for Page Motor is for you to say, okay, here's the content I want to put out there. And it's gonna do your content. It's gonna generate these assets based on your brand. It knows your brand. It says, okay, well, here's your open graph image for this. Here's what we suggest. Here's a thumbnail image that we would suggest. Here's some suggested social media posts. And, maybe go post this to these three sites. And maybe there'll be some API thing. Oh, actually, just click here. You're already, logged in. We'll go ahead and post it to like YouTube and Rumble and get your video presence going as well. Like I want something like that, like a publishing center that generates all your assets and then publishes everywhere you need it, because that's really the key. It's a lot of work. It's getting all the right stuff in the right places.
So it goes back to make sure that, if you are trying to appear, like reverse engineering this, if you want to appear in those AI searches, kind of do what you just described to do and make sure that you're leveraging social accounts and kind of marketing themselves or like talking about your stuff on the appropriate account.
Well, I mean, if you want to get really savage about this, it not only has to leverage socials, it has to leverage relevant socials, not like 0 follower accounts, right? So Esther asks, why short video content versus not so short? Love that you asked that. Here's why. You can produce hundreds and hundreds of long form videos, may not get any traction. If you want to actually build an audience and see the numbers go up, the only way to do that reliably, unless you have somebody bigger than you promoting your stuff, which is unlikely and not an easy game to play, you have to have something that is in high circulation. The only thing any of these platforms have in high circulation at this point is short form content, 2 minutes or less. YouTube is really 1 minute or less. Unless you're filming it on your phone and you got a verified account, they'll give you 2 minutes. But, we're dealing with that right now. We're discussing how do we build this show. We know we need more shorts. We need clips.
But if we already heard that the more qualified leads are coming from that AI search, this is a good idea to start thinking about this right now and start optimizing your site, for, or whatever it is that you're doing for that. Any other takeaway before we move on from this?
No, I just like that we got the eye on this ball. People need to be thinking about this. They really need to be thinking about publishing in a more holistic way. It's not just a piece of information on the internet. It's not just some social content. It's not just a video. It's all these things together, including the image assets that go with it.
And the good news that whatever SEO game was, in the game in the year or two, that this may not be the game. And so that's, or maybe it will be.
Well, there is a bit of continuity that's worth noting. The stuff that has been the best play for technical SEO has now risen to the forefront as being crucial for geo. So if you follow these best practices and like having the open graph images, having all this stuff I've just suggested, I don't think that's going anywhere. Having these assets and these micro brands around information is definitely going to have staying power. Yeah. There might be other stuff that gets introduced to augment that, but you would just add that on, sprinkle that on top, rather than throwing away everything you already have. I think what we have is very valuable.
There's a lot of gold in comments today. Do you want to kind of go over that before we move to the
what was that? I missed
there's a lot of gold in the comments today.
Yeah, I'm loving that. I mean, so Ken's saying good stuff. Definitely have a register a sitemap with Bing. Bing is more tightly integrated into various LLMs. So like having the sitemap there is more valuable than it would have been seen as having a decade ago. So
well, Bing is also in bed, I guess, with OpenAI, ChatGPT.
It's OpenAI. I couldn't remember which
so
one.
They're working together, so that they're definitely there's a lot more to that. But that's a really good point.
So I posted I showed a tweet from a post from Ken saying social media links should link your social media content should link to landing pages that are tightly focused on the subject. That's reinforcing that specificity thing. Hey, this appeared on social media. Hey, it goes to this page. Hey, this is laser focused on this topic. It's like reinforcing that, that information. You can see how that would be a confidence boosting thing to an LLM that's trying to determine whether or not this is relevant. And Casey says short content is for growing an audience and reaching new people. Longer content is for the audience you already have that knows you to go deeper. It really is like that. You got to show appeal. That's the short stuff. It's like going on a date. And then the longer form content is like kind of being in a relationship. So, you got to do both.
Exactly. All right. Moving on. So we've got this segment that caught my attention. And I think it has again, it was an X and has a 1.5 million views or something. So I was like, oh, wow, people are really paying attention to that. And it was talking about, imagine being hacked, but not by a phishing email, but by a calendar invite. I've actually noticed people now invite me without me even knowing them to their events. And I always thought that was very strange. But now that I'm reading this, I'm like, this is very interesting. So this week, researchers showed that how ChatGPT can be tricked into leaking your emails just from one poisoned event on your calendar. So I guess this is just kind of what happened? ChatGPT now connects to tools like Gmail and Google Calendar. Great news, but also may not be that great news, right? So researchers sent a fake calendar invite with hidden instructions. When ChatGPT read the invite, followed those instructions, pulling private data and sending it out. So the scary part, you didn't even have to accept, click accept. I know they're working on that. I know they're trying, there's a lot of new things going on. But this is AI phishing 2.0. So attacker isn't tricking you, they're tricking your AI. And every integration, email, calendar, Notion becomes a new attack surface. And then small businesses and creators who rely on AI to manage daily tasks are most exposed. So what do you think about all this?
Well, it's just the nature of systems. There's a little shift. Anytime there's a shift, there is an equal sized reaction to take advantage of this thing. It's a bad actor kind of play, but it does exist. It's not going away. It's always going to exist. I'm always fascinated. Like I hadn't even thought about that. You've got now AIs taking automated actions in your inbox. Well, that means stuff is going to happen or be acted upon Whereas in the past, you would have just dismissed it. So it's a different thing there. And seeing that as a potential attack vector, I just shake my head. I sort of want to shake the hand of these people and also slap them at the same time for coming up with this. But, this is the nature of the game. This is the nature of the game.
So one of the things they talked about is that, you kind of have precaution, right? Disconnect the tools you don't need. If ChatGPT doesn't really need your Gmail, don't connect it. And then stop adding calendar invites. That's something that I've done is I went and made sure that that's unclicked so people can't send me random invites anymore. And then review AI permissions carefully. Never hit approve without looking. And so again, this is early in the game kind of thing. I know that some of the things will happen. And I've read that ChatGPT is addressing this because obviously they don't want this to be happening. But meanwhile, I just wanted to kind of bring this up because there's two sides to every story. More openness is great, but then openness comes with those that are trying to trick you.
Well, I just think everyone should follow my playbook here. Never accept email from anybody. Don't have a calendar. Don't schedule anything. No phone calls either.
Anyway, so if you're watching, just kind of check it out and make sure that you are, while they're trying to figure out all the safety and all of that stuff, just kind of be on guard, especially when you start seeing weird invites popping up from people. That's how they get you. Moving on, AI funding, kind of that's our last episode for the day. We talk about what happened this week, how much money went where and how. And so this past week, it was massive for AI first companies. They raised 3.4, almost 3.5 billion in the world across 54 companies. And that adds up to about 42% of all global venture funding. 42% of all funding.
That's what we've seen every week, 40 to 50%.
It's going to AI. It's just, I mean, it blows my mind that this is the biggest thing where the money is flowing. Who did the biggest checks went to? Figure, which is a humanoid robots. They got 1 billion Series C. Crazy. Grok with a Q. How do you say it? Grok?
I think they're saying Grok.
Which, I don't know. I saw it, I was like, because I thought it was Grok, but it was like, oh, it's Grok. With 750 million Series E.
Series E.
Ultra fast AI chips. That's crazy.
So that's a trend. Trend spotted. NVIDIA's doing this. Elon is investing in this. And this company, 750 million Series E, this is in production. It's all edge chips. Edge AI processing is the future. Devices in your hand doing the computation, not big data centers. It's gonna be transformative for the way we already think about the space.
So number 3 winner of the week was Lila Sciences. It raised 235 million Series A, and that is using AI superintelligence to accelerate biotech. So, good cause. Singapore Ultra Green AI raised 188 million, applying AI in surgical care. And then Dyna Robotics, building smarter robot arms, raised 120 million in Series A.
So this came up last week about the robotics. It's fascinating. Most of the energy and engineering and whatever goes into robotics goes into the hands. This is just nerding out here on the show, but it's made me think about my hands in a different way. It's fascinating. Is this really that freaking advanced? It must be. It really is a projection of our brains and what we do and how we direct action. It's fascinating when we start to think about this and actually see it in programming and robot form. 80 to 90% of what they do is in the hands. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, this is fascinating. So it went to robotics mostly. Big money went to hardware. And then AI security is hot. So that's kind of what the trends are. So tackling fraud, cyber defense, and AI-driven threats. Life sciences was dominating as well. And then there's also huge early stage rounds. We have 100 million seed checks showing investors are taking winner take all bets. So again, the craze is not coming down. United States dominated with 2.9 billion, which is 83% of global AI funding this week. China reported no AI first mega deals. Again, I think we're just not hearing about it on Crunchbase. And then Europe had 232 million, and then kind of everything else was sort of.
They're definitely back from summer vacation.
Yeah, they're definitely back from the summer. So any kind of takeaways from this one before we wrap this up?
Well, I think, we've seen a lot of infrastructure bets. We saw not as many of those this week, but you got to figure at some point that's exhausted. We did see one big infrastructure bet, the $750 million Series E for the chips. That's an infrastructure bet. That's still huge. But not as many scattered across. We see the big uptick in robotics. So any of the robotics ventures and also the warehouse factory type automation stuff, I kind of view as being hand in hand, although the robotics obviously has potential impact beyond that. But just fabrication, manufacturing, automation, which makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
I like those trends. I feel like this is a practical use set. I think the using it in biotech and any sorts of medical stuff is a big win. Misdiagnoses, problems, all these things that kind of plague modern medicine should be, at least attempted to be solved or enhanced with AI. That seems like a very practical, very sensible use case to me. I like to see those. I like, seeing those continued investments. We are also seeing those from all over the world. We've now seen big bets on that in America. We've seen it in Europe and now in Singapore. So fascinating. We're seeing more of that everywhere, I think, than anything.
Yeah. So that's all we have for today. So basically today's biggest takeaway is there's so much noise in AI right now. There's so much do this, do this, do this, do this. So it's very important to really focus on the practical thing of what's actually working. And I'm hoping that today we showcased a bunch of different examples of what you can start literally doing differently today by kind of watching some of those videos, or maybe you heard something that caught your attention. But it's at the end of the day, it's like, what are you doing with this? And today we give you a ton of playbooks on what to actually do.
Yep. And what balls can you keep your eye on? Keep your eye on the MCP ball. That's not going away. That's just going to be enhanced. That's going to affect your actual workflows and the tools you use. And the other ball is these practical tools, these workflow patching together workflows, such as we described with Lindy AI in that email response thing for like service businesses, or for that aspect, the communications aspects of your businesses. I just feel like those are going to be like really in your wheelhouse. You are going to be doing this in some form within the next couple of years. Like, this is really going to make an improvement in your businesses and your life. So definitely keep your eye on those two balls. And then the other trends and stuff are fun to follow as well. And we'll see what emerges.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks for all for being here. Esther, you're welcome. I'm glad you're here. You had really good questions. And thanks, Ken. It's nice to see you here again. Thanks, everybody who contributed today.
Yeah, Casey, Esther, Ken.
Yeah,
hope I didn't forget anybody. It was a great chat today. Love it.
You made this so fun today for us. It's always very fun to interact. So that's all for the show. We'll see you guys. Do you want to give an update on PageMotor or not?
Nah, no updates this week.
All right. So we'll see you guys next Friday at 11 with more practical tips and tools and things and what to do with practical AI so you can create something amazing. See y'all next week.
Later, guys.
Thanks for being here. Bye.